Hello, hello. All right. As many of you are coming into the room, I'm just opening up the chat bar on the side and saying hello. If you could do me a favor and say hello back, that allows me to know two things. You can hear me and you can also see what is happening in that chat bar. So there are many of you that are coming here into the room. So don't raise your hand, just actually go into the side and say hello. Awesome, there we go, amazing. Hi ladies. Hi Mary, hi Christine, Amy, Joan, Deb, Cora, so many of you. Avriel, Sue. Hi Vanessa, Sonia, Liz, Cecile, amazing. Okay, we're gonna give it a couple minutes here. Let everybody come on into the room. We had almost 1,000 women register for this webinar. So not always do we have everybody that comes on live in this. Our room actually does cap out, which is why we do the recordings and why we send that out, and you will get the recording. The recording typically is about 48 hours later, 2 to 3 days. So just be patient with us for that. Oh, you are so welcome for doing this. I love teaching masterclasses. I really do. I love having conversations with women. I love bringing, sometimes what can feel like new information. Other times, maybe you just needed that reminder of things that you knew, but you needed that extra little kick in the pants, or maybe you needed the education to give you the motivation to finally kind of make a decision for your health about how you're feeling. Hi, Bonnie. Awesome. Okay, so we'll give it another couple minutes here. I'd have some I'd have some paper and a pen nearby. Hi, Lisa, to take some notes. Again, remember that you will get the recording of this. So I always say, you have two options. You can fully sit back, undistracted. So do not have your phone nearby that you're scrolling or be doing 12 other things while you're listening to this. I think if you are really here to learn tonight, I'm going to say to you ladies, like, please take the next 60 to 75 minutes for you, just unapologetically to completely soak up the information that we are going to go through and to be present for yourself. And then when you get the recording, then you press pause, take your notes, do all of those things. And definitely if you know that you are that type of learner where you have to listen and write simultaneously, do that as well. I can't see you, so I don't really know what you're doing. I have no idea what you're doing over there. Okay. All right, so we have a lot to get through tonight. So I am going to get going. I just want to open it up a little bit with some housekeeping. So we're using technology. Sometimes things happen. Don't panic. I have Vanessa from my team who's actually on the call tonight. So, my team is fantastic at helping if anything does happen on the back end. Also, if there's questions that you have about any links or things like that, these ladies on my team, they're quick and rapid fire. So if there's a link or something I'm talking about, then she'll just post it into that sidebar for you. What else? I have a dog. I have a bolster that has the door open there. She may decide to come in and out. Her name's Charlie. She's really cute. When my husband gets home, if she's in here, you're going to see her pop up and she may give you a small heart attack when she barks because she goes crazy for her dad. And I think other than that, we're good to go. Are you excited to learn tonight? And grab a sip of water. You must be when there's so many who have registered. This is I don't want to say like a hot topic because it's something that we need to know and learn about all the time. And again, this is one of the fundamentals that I wish that we all knew more about. Okay, so to give you a glimpse, if you have never come to one of my webinars before, welcome. My name is Jen Pike. I'm a functional diagnostic nutritionist and medical exercise specialist. I'm the founder of the Hormone Project and Synced, and the best-selling author of the Simplicity Project, and I have 2 cookbooks as well. And my passion is teaching. My passion is being an educator and helping to connect women to information to help them feel better and to feel more empowered in their body. And so tonight, the focus is all around insulin and blood sugar. And this can be, a very confusing subject, topic, level of understanding for so many. We're going to go into a couple of different things tonight. But what I want to, preface this by saying is that please understand that anytime you're attending something general, a general webinar, workshop, masterclass, I don't know you specifically, okay? So when I'm talking about different things and I'm giving you different examples, you always have to filter that through your own body, your own life, and what you know is going on in your system. And if there's certain things that I say where you have questions about those, you can always, reach out to us after. You could also reach out to a practitioner that you're working with, and I'll talk to you about how to navigate some of those things as we kind of move further out. Now, my style of teaching, I do not present with slideshows. I do not do PowerPoints. I have a conversation with you. And so I'm going to teach for a bit, then I'm going to open it up and say, does that make sense? Any questions around that? Then I'm going to come back and teach for a bit, and we're going to kind of do that back and forth. And then at the end, I'll open it up for some deeper questions. Also, just understand with the questions that I can't answer things around medication you're taking, or if you're on insulin and how much you should be taking and those types of things, because again, I don't know you. And it's actually quite, you don't want to take information about your medication from somebody on the internet that has not done a proper intake and looked at your information. So I also just want to caution you of that, whether it's me you're listening to or anyone else, and just make sure that we are on the same page for that. So, okay, here. Let me just kind of minimize my screen. Nothing's going to change on your end. And as the light goes out, then I'll turn a light on for me here. So, all right. This is what we're going to dive into tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, but I'm going to really hit home on things why low carb, no carb diets are not the answer, especially for women who are still cycling, and especially for women who have thyroid issues, who have adrenal issues, who are feeling very overwhelmed and stressed, which, hello, I mean, who isn't feeling on some level or every level stress in response to what's happening in the world right now, but tack that on top of the stress that you previously had, whether it was with your family or your job or a relationship, your health, finances, whatever it may be, things have compounded. And by pulling an entire macronutrient out, like carbohydrates, that can be the final straw for a woman's body and actually increase her vulnerability for worsening symptoms and different issues to actually happen. We're also going to talk about why a one-size-fits-all approach to dieting or to your nutrition plan really doesn't work. If you follow me on Instagram, I did a little IG story. I think it was yesterday. I don't even know what today is, but I feel like it was yesterday, talking about the fact that there is no one diet. There is no one nutritional protocol, because we are all individual human beings living in our own body, experiencing our own life. And that's the level that we have to meet ourselves at. I'm going to teach you tonight as well, too, about how blood sugar stability is connected to so many different symptoms in your body, including things like your body's resistance to maybe wanting to lose fat. And I don't want you to think of it in terms of necessarily weight. That is what we get trapped in, especially as women, is over focusing on what the scale says, on what that sum is, as opposed to really understanding the composition of our body. And we've been so trained societally to focus on how we look as opposed to how we feel. And if you came here tonight hoping that I'm just going to teach you everything about how you can look better, you may have come into the wrong webinar, because my passion, ladies, is teaching you about how you can first feel better. The look will come with the feel. It's not the other way around. And that's really what we've been taught, is if you just lose the weight and you weigh less, and you don't have cellulite and you look like this and not like that, then life is going to be easier and better for you. And then you'll feel better. And I'll tell you, being a practitioner for over 2 decades, working specifically only with women, I've yet to ever see that be the reality for a woman. So we're going to go into that. I'm going to teach you tonight about understanding your hunger and satiation cues and your hormones. Why are you always craving something sweet? Why do you finish a healthy meal and then are still peckish and searching around the house for that little something? And this doesn't mean that you're just looking for sweets. You could be looking for salt. You could be looking for savory. It just means that you are not satisfied in general, and that you are on the search for something. And that something might be because your blood sugar is unstable. It also might be because emotionally you're just feeling, you're at like that maximum tension that I talk about so often. And so you're looking for anything to make you feel better. I'm also going to teach you about insulin resistance in terms of how you can start to really master your body's response to glucose and insulin and balancing your blood sugar. And truthfully, the goal is to become metabolically flexible, not to become in a constant state of, ketosis, not to be a sugar burner, not to be all over the map, but to have metabolic flexibility, which is after a certain period of time when you've really conditioned your body and created new habits so that you have stable blood sugar, you don't have the swings and the highs and the lows, that, now you could go and have something like that dessert Easter weekend and it doesn't totally side rail you. You don't feel hungover after you've had it. It doesn't take you days to get yourself back on track. When those types of symptoms are happening for you, that is really one of the first signs right out of the gates that there's something that is out of balance in your system. You should be able to go and have something like that every once in a while. And the term once in a while might need to be defined for you, because every day is not once in a while. Every day is a habit. Every Friday is also maybe for your body not once in a while. So it's really kind of determining for you where that, no pun intended, sweet spot is as to when you can go and have something that maybe you wouldn't normally have, and you just get to enjoy it. You get to enjoy it and you get to move on, and it doesn't seriously impact your body. And that is really my hope for all of us, is that you don't want to feel like you are stuck in this perpetual state of, I'm on a diet, I'm on a plan, I'm on a cleanse, I'm on a detox, I'm on a protocol. That's no way to live, and you become a prisoner to this conviction that that's the way that it has to be. And it's a slow energy leak, and it is draining you. And that is something that will also impact your body's relationship to regulating your glucose, to producing insulin, to being able to shuttle that into the muscles and into the liver where it needs to be, versus hanging out in your blood. Okay, so you're going to come away really understanding on a deeper level what is actually happening on so many levels in your system. So how I want to start this off tonight is by giving you a little bit of a background info. So a lot of people think that they just eat a little bit of sugar. And what's interesting, and when, I do a lot of research on various topics. And when I do the research on sugar, and this may not be new information to some of you, the average adult in North America is consuming their body weight in pounds of sugar a year. Just think about that for a moment. That is a human load of sugar that is going into our body. And you might sit there and think for yourself, well, that's definitely not me. Like, Jen, I don't eat the chocolate, I don't have the cookies. Those are the obvious ways that processed foods and sugar might get into our body, but we're not maybe connecting to the latte that we're having, the cream that we're adding into it, the sugar that's going into our tea, the maple syrup, the honey, the extra, whatever it is that you're putting into your smoothie, adding in orange juice versus adding water or, an unsweetened non-dairy milk. It's the barbecue sauce, the ketchup, the condiments, the dressings. Like, it's mind-blowing if you've ever actually done a sugar cleanse or detox for yourself, where you've started to track the amount of sugar that you take in. It is in everything. It's in everything, which is what makes it so challenging when we make a decision that we want to decrease how much we're consuming, or we want to take it out, that we feel like we are losing our mind and we don't have the willpower, is what we call it. You'll learn what that really is tonight, or the self-control to be able to stay with it. Here's a really interesting fact. And so diabetes is something near and dear to my heart. My mom is a diabetic. My sister-in-law is a diabetic. My mom is actually what they call a type 1.5 diabetic. My mom was diagnosed back in the late 90s with type 2 diabetes, okay? That's what it used to be called. It was adult onset diabetes. That's what it was that she had. Now, it's no longer called adult onset, because when type 2 diabetes was discovered, or when it was diagnosed and when it was named, at that time, and if we look back as early as 1980, there were zero children who had type 2 diabetes, okay? The children who were suffering from diabetes had type 1. They were insulin dependent. That's what my sister-in-law is. She was, diagnosed when she was 18 months old. And so with my mom, she was diagnosed with adult onset. And unfortunately, she wasn't taught what she needed to do in order to stabilize her blood sugar. They just said, oh, you can work on your lifestyle, just stop eating sugar, is essentially what she was told. Not how to balance out her meals, not skipping meals, not putting everybody else first before herself, doing those things, drinking too much wine, staying up too late. And so what happened is, over a 6-month period of time, she couldn't get those blood sugar levels under control. And so they immediately put her on insulin. Because they did that, it desensitized her body, essentially created insulin resistance for her own cells. And so her beta cells as well too, impacted her pancreas's ability to produce insulin. And she then became a type 1.5 diabetic. And now still, all these years later, she is taking insulin. Now she's on infant amounts of it. But when she worked with an endocrinologist after that, a new one, he had said, you never really should have got to the point where you would have been on insulin had you been taught how to take care of yourself, change your nutrition and your lifestyle. So that was a huge lesson, for us as a family. I was in school at the time when my mom was going through this, and I'm like, gosh, I wish I knew then what I know now. So what I know now, I'm going to teach you. Okay, maybe we can prevent this for someone that you care about. Now, remember what I said, in 1980, there were 0 cases of children with type 2 diabetes. By 2010, which is at that time, if any of you watched the documentary Fed Up, which was all about our overconsumption of sugar, a lot of it was based on what was happening in the United States, in America. At that point in 2010, there were more than 60,000 children in America with type 2 diabetes, which is when it then stopped being referred to as adult onset diabetes, because this was now showing up in infants as young as 6 months old. Type 2, not type 1. That blew my absolute mind. Now, at this point, as of 2020, that number in the US is over 200,000. Okay, so there's a huge population of our kids that are being impacted by this. And even if you look at in Canada, when I was looking at different statistics, 90% of all diabetes in Canadian children and adults are type 2, which means only 10% of the diabetic population is type 1 insulin dependent. Type 2 diabetes is lifestyle and epigenetic based, meaning that there is a lot that we can do to get in front of it and prevent that from happening in our bodies. And women I work with all the time talk about having low blood sugar. They need to snack all the time. If they don't eat every couple of hours, they feel like they become another person. They get hangry, they get headaches, they get shaky, heart palpitations. These are signs of hypoglycemia, and hypoglycemia is a pre-diabetic state. When I do blood work reviews and I'm looking at things like fasting glucose, random glucose, you'll see our team over the next couple of weeks is doing a glucose challenge. And Laura Bourne, who's our team holistic nutritionist, if you follow my stories, she posted on her stories today, putting her glucose monitor in, which was actually hilarious because her and her husband both can't handle needles. And so the two of them were essentially having like a panic attack together as they were putting her glucose monitor in. But we're doing this to be able to regulate and see what is going on and what foods are really impacting. And for women who have a lot of hypoglycemic tendencies, this is something that I will often recommend. When I'm looking at blood work, and I'm going to talk from Canadian lab perspective, so if you're tuning in from somewhere else in the world and the measurements are slightly different, I like to see someone that's sitting between 4.2 and about 4.9. As soon as it gets to around 5 for fasting glucose or a little bit higher than that, I'm going to talk to that woman about, okay, tell me more about your dietary habits. How long is it in between your meals? Like, let's go a little bit deeper and learn a little bit more information here. Because the whole goal is we want to get in front of your body getting to a point where now things have gone too far and now potentially you are having to look at some level of a medical intervention, or it's just going to be that much more difficult for your body to be able to come back for that. The other really important thing to understand is that when we're talking about the base of blood sugar stability, when we're talking about excessive consumption of sugar and processed foods and, processed carbohydrates, and stay with me because carbohydrates themselves are not the issue, okay? Because we could talk about a carbohydrate that is an apple or a parsnip or a sweet potato or a pumpkin. And then we could talk about a carbohydrate that is a cookie, a cake, a chocolate bar, a candy, a glass of juice. They're kept in the same category, but they are not the same thing. They don't bring the same nutrients to the table. Your body doesn't respond on a glucose level and an insulin level in the same way. So again, carbohydrates are not the issue. The sourcing that we're having, the way that we're consuming it, the amount that we are consuming, and the lack of other nutrients that need to be invited to the party of our body, that is really where a lot of the issues come from. And it doesn't matter what disease or illness that you go and research and look at in the human body, whether it's heart disease or cancer or autoimmune illnesses, even viruses, which that is a hot topic right now. There is no level of research that discounts the harsh connection that an increased level of sugar will have on your body. So we know it's not good for us. But here's the problem. It freaking tastes good. And it rescues people in times of not feeling fantastic, in times of low energy, in times of stress, in times of being upset, in times of celebration, right? It's like the fix-all for everything. And we get emotionally connected to that. And our body starts to feel like it really depends on that fix. And that's the big issue. It's not that we don't know we shouldn't be having a lot of it. I really don't believe that people don't understand and know that having too much sugar is not good for us. I think we all know that, but that oftentimes isn't enough for us to be able to have either the motivation or the strength to be able to make the change. And so when you're thinking about this for yourself, if you're that person that's like, I can relate to this. I know that I shouldn't be having, the things that I'm having, but I really, Jen, feel like right now I can't help it. I want you to understand what happens in this swing of when that blood sugar is going up, which initially when this happens, when you have something sweet, when you have the glass of wine, when you have the sugary latte, when you have the muffin, when you have the bagel, the bowl of cereal, whatever that thing is, initially for that first hour, hour and a half, typically you're going to feel great. It's so good. It's so delicious. There's a huge level of joy. You feel amazing. You might even feel your energy is up for a bit. And then what happens? You have the crash. And in the crash, this is where you feel unhinged. And this is where your body unravels. And this is where you start to feel all of those symptoms and where you start to have additional cravings. It's literally like your body is saying, go back and get me more. I didn't get enough. Sometimes what's happening in that is that you got no lack of flavor, no lack of calories, no lack of the sugar and the goodness, but you didn't get any nutrients. There was no vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, solid amino acids, and proteins in there for your body to actually feel satiated, and that it got what it needed. So it will send you back out and be like, you got to go get more of that and keep going back and getting more until we actually feel like we got what we needed. Now, for most people, they don't stop eating that food because they actually got what they needed. They either run out of the food, like the bag of chip ends, or the chocolate bar is gone, the Cadbury mini eggs, there's no more to be found, or you get to the point where now you feel sick. Your teeth are coated with fur. You're just like, oh my gosh. And now starts that vicious cycle of beating yourself up about this. So one of the first tips I'll give you is start to recognize your patterns. If anything I just said clicked with you and you're like, oh yeah, that's so me. You don't have to go buy a continuous glucose monitor and stick it in your arm in order to know that. Start to identify your own patterns as to what your relationship is with when and why you're going for certain things, how it makes you feel immediately, and then how do you feel after? And that's one of the questions to ask yourself. How do I want to feel when I eat it? How do I want to feel an hour later, 2 hours later? How do I want to feel in the afternoon, or when I lie down and try to go to bed at night? Right? Or when I want to do that workout, or I can't recover from the workout, or when I want to be intimate, but I'm so gassed because I'm having this low blood sugar, or I'm losing my mind on my kid because they asked me a simple thing, but my threshold is gone now because I don't feel stable. These are the things that I really, as a step one, want you to start to pay attention to is your own body's cues. These do not live outside of you. They live in you, and you'll feel it physically, mentally, and emotionally. You will also feel it cognitively. Your brain will literally function differently. So that's the first pillar I want you to focus on is how do you, the individual, the woman listening to me, looking at me right now tonight, how do you feel when you bring these things into your body? Okay. We have it so ingrained in us, ladies, that to focus on insulin and blood sugar only matters when it comes to losing your weight. I said this in the beginning. I'll probably say it 5 more times and I will sound like a broken record over and over again. You need to focus on your feel and the function of your body first, okay? The struggle with the weight or how you want to look, it is a struggle because it's ultimately not where our bodies need us to begin. Your body is really saying to you, excuse me, if you could just help me with this gas and bloating and these cravings and lack of sleep and like zero freaking energy, that would be amazing. And then maybe if you can help me out with those things, I'll shed some of that weight because I'm just holding on to all this inflammation because I don't know day to day if I'm coming or going with what your habits are. I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, and I do not feel safe. And I'm not going to let you lose the weight because that's how I'm feeling. That is in so many women's bodies, essentially what your system is communicating with you. And you can hear it now and be like, this makes sense. And then you're going to go stand in the grocery store and you're going to see the cover of a magazine article that's going to contradict that. You're going to listen to a girlfriend who is on keto dropping a whole bunch of weight. You're going to read a book that's going to tell you to do something drastic. You're going to listen to another podcast episode that's going to contradict what you feel and know in your own body. And then you question your own intuition and knowing about what's going on in your system. Stop. You have to stop. We have so much information, so much noise that is literally pounding down the door of our mind and our psyche on a daily basis. You need to have some stealth frickin' boundaries, not just with, the negative things that are coming at you, with what also you could perceive as being healthy, good information. You might need to put some boundaries up right now around yourself about some of the things I'm talking about. Right? You might be triggered by some of this. And that is definitely not my intention, but it is the reality of what can happen when we start to, hear a picture being painted where we're like, I feel like this is a portrait. Like, I kind of feel like you've been following me around and you've learned my habits. And here's the thing. So many women will say that because we are so similar. I know you think we're all so different. And yes, we have differences. But in terms of the stories we've been told, the way we feel about our body, our lack of self-esteem, our lack of confidence, how it shows up in our habits, I'm telling you because I talk to all of you every day in practice, ladies, we are a tighter community than you could ever possibly imagine. We are all hardwired the same. Some of us just choose to execute from a different way. We have different habits, different patterns, different level that it shows up in our life, okay? Now, before I go any deeper into that, is this landing with you? How are we doing? I feel like I need to put on my bright light. Peggy is saying so true. Sent a question. I'm not going to get into the keto thing right now. Okay, so you're listening to Jason Fung. So Dr. Fung is like all about fasting. That's what he does. That's his jam. You're never going to hear Jason ever talk about anything other than the benefits of keto and of fasting. And here's the thing, Kiana, is that it can be used therapeutically and in certain circumstances. So for instance, you're saying PCOS, okay, or somebody with diabetes, maybe, but is that all they have going on? So here's the hard thing is that we get focused on the one thing and we see ourselves in that one example, and you could try it. Here's what I would say, try it. Try some of his principles, try it on for size, see how it feels in your body. But if your body's not responding well in terms of digestion is off, cravings are worse than ever before, you're not happy, like you're constantly feeling, I gotta take this off, I'm hot. You're constantly feeling like you are being deprived, your sleep is changing, your hair, your skin, then maybe that doesn't actually work for you. And that's the hard thing. And I know like everyone wants the hard and fast answer and wants me to just say, literally, this is the thing. Again, I don't know you, so I can't. But I will tell you that it all comes down to who you're listening to. And like I said, Jason, Dr. Jason Fung, fantastic. He's brilliant at what he does. But that is what he believes is the absolute best. And they do a lot of clinical research, both on, rodents, animals, and human beings. He's based out of Scarborough, Ontario, in Canada. But it doesn't mean it's the be all end all for everyone. Okay. Same thing with like, maybe my approach is not for everyone. And that's the beauty of having differing information, is that you can try them on for size and pick and choose. Now, you could spend a whole lifetime trying on things for size. I would always come back to intuitively, what does your gut tell you? Okay. So some of you are posting here, like, spot on, this resonates 100%. Some of you are asking more questions. You're not quite sure. Like, what about sugar and fruit? What about sugar and veggies? So these are great questions. And when they come forward, what that tells me is, it's like, God, I want to believe that, but I'm not sure. And so sometimes for me, like, the whole thing around the sugar that we need to be concerned with vegetables, I have yet to meet a woman who's ODing on her veggies to the point where that is impacting her blood sugar, where she's eating so many sweet potatoes and so much corn or so many carrots, where like that is the reason why her blood sugar is unstable. It's more so about what you're combining it with. So getting those fibrous, beautiful vegetables in with healthy proteins, with healthy fats. I'm going to talk to you when we get towards the end of this tonight about even like the ordering of how and what we are eating, when I give you some of my different steps and tips. Christine says, my body doesn't feel safe resonates with me. Summer, I need to be reminded of this every day. Thank you, reminding us day after day. Yeah, again, this is because, and the reason we need the daily reminding is we're being hit, like I said, with the noise from every single angle of what is and what isn't. The what is and what isn't is going to come down to you. Your genetics play a role in this. Your gut microbiome plays a role in how you actually manage and respond to your glucose as well too. So there are so many factors that play a role in this. Okay. All right. And in regards to fruit, we're going to get to that when I'm talking about, from the nutritional front, some of the different examples and how that can impact. It's interesting to see how a sneaky pattern can form in reaching for sugar. Yeah. I mean, a lot of that it is our patterning. It's our habit, right? It's our ritual. It's just like the thing that we do and that we're so used to. Okay, so let's go a little deeper into this. So the function of insulin in your body, I don't want to get like too sciencey, geeky 101 with you on this, because I know you just want to know like, what are the steps and the tips. But here's the thing. We're not trying to get you to have no insulin production and no glucose in your body. We're not trying to get you to base level. We are trying to create that metabolic flexibility, like I said, where your body is very balanced in its ability to choose its sources of fuel. Your body's always going to look for glucose, and you don't have to be consuming an abundance of glucose in order to have that for proper cognition, brain function, metabolic function. Ladies who are menstruating, you have to be very careful on going too low carb or staying keto for too long or abusing intermittent fasting rules, because that can have a dramatic impact on the regularity of your menstrual cycle, the flow of your menstrual cycle, whether or not you ovulate, the quality of your ovulation, and so much more. So again, sometimes, like how one of you were asking about with PCOS or with diabetes, we might do something like a lower carbohydrate approach for a period of time to create stability, to reduce inflammation, to stabilize insulin growth factor, to reduce any level of instability in the body. And then once the body gets to that baseline, now we slowly start to titrate the amount of carbohydrates up and play around with that. How does your body respond if we add another 20 grams of carbohydrates into your body, which is like a cup of blueberries? How do you respond if you have that? Now, you might respond completely fine to the blueberries, but we go and give you grapes, which are like little sugar bombs, or pineapple, and that sends your blood sugar through the roof. So it's not fruit, it's what type of fruit. There's those that are higher glycemically and some that are lower glycemically. Now, here's the truth of it. When I'm working with a woman, if she is like, oh my gosh, like I love grapes, they're my favorite. Do you think I'm going to say to that woman, you can't ever eat grapes? No, I'm going to say to her, okay, so why don't you have some of those grapes that you love, but why don't you have some macadamia nuts with it or some pecans with it? Add in a little bit of fat, and a little bit of fiber and protein from those nuts or some seeds to help to slow down how quickly that's going to hit the bloodstream and impact your glucose and your blood sugar and your insulin levels, right? So that she doesn't have that pickup and then that crash on the other side. So a lot of it with your nutrition is really the coupling of what you're bringing together in your body, okay? When I was talking about that hypoglycemic response in your system, you know, the classic things that will get women into this scenario is that they get up in the morning and they don't eat. They get up in the morning and they do things like coffee or tea or, like an upgraded bulletproof coffee because they're still staying in that intermittent fasting window, or they're doing a fasting tea, like a black tea or a bergamot tea, like peak teas have different teas like that. And they're going a longer period of time without eating. And for some women, that will be enough to derail their blood sugar and set them off on the wrong path for the entire rest of their day. Where then when they do eat their first meal, they're craving things that are more sugary, things that are more processed. And it's like once they open up Pandora's box of eating, now their hunger cues are totally out of balance for the whole day. And they end up eating more. Now, some women can get up and do that routine and they have, a really balanced first meal of the day, which might be like eggs, avocados, some berries, those types of things. And they feel very balanced and their blood sugar is stable and they move through the rest of the day feeling stable and more inclined to make healthier choices. But the woman who's getting up and running out the door with nothing because, there's a lot that's happening and going on, or she's got her kids at home that she's teaching it or whatever it may be. And now she just keeps pushing it and pushing it until she gets to the point where she's like, I have got to eat something. At that point, she's not going to make the time usually to cook up an egg, to slice the avocado, to make herself bacon, to wash up some berries. She's going to go for something quick. She's going to grab a granola bar. She's going to grab a vanilla flavored yogurt. She's going to, pour herself a bowl of cereal. She's going to make a shake and probably put more fruit in it because she feels like she's starving now. Right? When your body goes into this reaction of that blood sugar dropping to that point, your body literally starts to panic and feels like it is actually starving. When in reality, you have plenty of stores, plenty of reserve in order to support you and keep you going. But your body feels and recognizes otherwise when you don't have that metabolic flexibility, when you're so used to always getting that fix, or you've stretched the time just way too long in between your meals. The amount of women I talk to nowadays who tell me, I get up, I do a coffee, I add, my grass-fed butter, my collagen, or I put it in a thermos, then I sip that throughout the morning, and then I have lunch, and then I just drink water throughout the day, and then I have dinner. And that will usually work for them in the beginning for a little bit until it doesn't. Until now, they aren't losing weight. Maybe weight is coming back on. Their sleep is not so great. Their stress response is not fantastic. Their, libido is in the tank. All of these things and they now are so connected to this way that they've been eating and believe that this is how they need to continue, that there can become a really disproportionate, unhealthy relationship with the food that they're putting in their body. And so, we unfortunately are living in a time where we're afraid of certain foods. We're more afraid to have the fruit and the carrot than we are the glass of wine. We're more afraid to go and have, a beautiful bowl of fresh sliced oranges or that pineapple than we are to go and have the keto marketed, muffin. Like that's the time we live in now. And it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me, but at the same time, I get it because we've literally been so conditioned that this is the route and the way to go. And when we're talking about something like fasting, or we're talking about keto, there is a healthy way to do these things. And there is a very unhealthy way, right? Like a lot of keto practitioners will say there's like dirty keto and then there's clean keto. So it's not just about eating bacon and, pork and sausages and steak all day, every day. That's not actually what that means. And so you have to figure out that sweet spot in your system. Like I know for me personally, because as a practitioner and someone who's working with women, I try a lot of different things because I don't feel good about recommending or not recommending something to a woman if I myself haven't tried it. So I've done keto. I did my first round of doing keto back in like 2016. It's before the Hormone Project even existed. And going through that journey and that process, I was able to really figure out, based on my training days, and we're going to talk about exercise, I really need to have somewhere around 125, 150 grams of carbohydrates a day for my body. Now, what I make those carbohydrates up of, that all depends on, is this a heavy lifting day for me? Is this a day when I'm going for a walk? Is it a day where I'm sitting on my butt here for 12 hours? That's going to change and shift the requirement that my body needs and what my blood sugar needs in order to be properly supported and stabilized. Okay. The other issue I see with women when they're having these hypoglycemic dips or the big swings of blood sugar all over the place, like I'm fine, oh my gosh, I'm not fine, I'm fine, I'm not fine, all over the map, is doing too intensive training and then not feeding and fueling their body with enough food. Lack of sleep, shift working. This is a big one. Women that are waking up really early in the morning to get their workout in, but they're dragging themselves through it. And instead of getting the extra sleep, they have put themselves into a greater stress debt response, and that is impacting their blood sugar. Okay. And so, stress impacts all of these things. So the thing is like when your stress response is up and cortisol is up, that means digestive ability goes down. Like you are either in stress or you digest. You can't be in stress and digest at the same time. It's either or, right? Stress hormones like cortisol, like adrenaline, when those are increased in your body, they decrease your digestive ability and capacity. They shunt your body's ability to produce enough hydrochloric acid and enzymes to properly break your food down. So if you're eating watching TV, if you're eating over your phone, if you're eating standing up, if you're eating in an environment that is there's fighting and arguing and agitation, you typically aren't going to feel your best after. You might feel more bloating and gas. You might feel like your food is literally just sitting there. You most definitely in that stress situation, if you've not properly broken your food down, are probably going to look for the cookie or that little something, the chocolate chips after your meal. So again, this is paying attention to how you're feeling and what it is that is going on, okay? Because when that glucose goes down and you're having that sugar crash and that cortisol goes up, cortisol is going to go in and pull glucose. It's going to pull it from your muscle. It's going to pull it from your liver, and it's going to push it into your bloodstream. And this is going to compound those symptoms and how you're feeling. So some of these biggest symptoms, we've already talked about some of them, but we're going to go a little bit deeper here. Are you a woman that has to eat every 2 to 3 hours? And if you don't start to feel well. Do you always crave a little something? And remember, it's not always something sweet. It could be salty, savory, but you need to have something because you don't feel satiated. Are you fatigued and have low energy? Do you actually describe yourself as feeling weak or have general weakness? Do you get headaches often? Do you have brain fog? Like, do you literally feel like you're just moving through life? I always describe it like you're in a fishbowl, right? Like you can't concentrate. You don't have the ability to focus. Do you get shaky and dizzy? Do you notice you can't even speak well? Like you're trying to form words and you're slurred. Like you almost feel like you're drunk sometimes when your blood sugar is really low. Do you get heart palpitations, right? Do you notice that your sweating has increased? You also might actually feel like you've kind of lost your self-control. It's what we call it, right? Like you just don't have the ability in your mind. You want to make the healthier choice, but when you get to that place where you're feeling so unwell, right? Like think about this tonight. For those of us who live in Ontario, lockdown number 949, okay? 4 weeks, another stay at home. How many families do you think when they heard that on the news today, or the notification came through on their phone, went home and grilled chicken and made a nice salad and, Brussels sprouts? How many people do you think ordered the pizza tonight, went through the McDonald's drive-through, got the processed food, crushed a bag of chips and drank a bottle of wine because they're like, what the F is going on in our province? I'm going to bet the latter is probably what happened. And people are sitting at home once again, scrambling to figure things out. Ladies, this isn't lack of self-control. Your hormones in your body, which what we're talking about right now, cortisol, leptin, ghrelin, which are those satiation hormones, they're chemicals and they're messengers, and they're communicating and they're orchestrating a story and a theme behind the scenes in your body that then show up in your actions, that show up in the things that you choose, in your ability to make decisions. And we beat up ourselves. I'm weak. I don't have the self-control. I don't have the discipline. Like I fail. Why? Like I can never succeed. Why can't I ever stick to anything? Well, let me ask you something. Are you overwhelmed, stressed, confused about all the information? Are you tired? Are you lonely? Are you sad? Do you have any of these things going on in your body? Are you injured? Do you have somebody you're caring for that's not well? Do you miss your family and your friends? Because if you're a human being living right now and any of those things are going on, what if it is the combination of all of those things that is making it so hard for you to say yes to the cookie that makes you feel good for an hour, that doesn't talk back to you? Like, do you understand what I'm saying in that? Does that connect to you, right? Any of that? We think we're the problem. We think that we're broken. We think it's us that we have to fix when it's us we have to understand. Shift your languaging and your mindset away from I need to fix myself to I need to friggin' understand myself. I need to talk to myself. I need to communicate with myself. I need to understand why this is different for me. Okay? I'm sweating a lot right now, but it's not because this is a eustress, which is a positive stress, because I'm excited in teaching and talking about this. Let's talk about mood swings, okay? Because this is the other one. Remember what I said. The mood swings is because you're swinging with your blood sugar. So when you're having that spike and the insulin goes up, life is good. You've got the thing. Dopamine is in there. You've been rewarded. This is like the high five. This is like the giant foam thumb in your body. Everyone's doing the wave together. You're happy. And then you crash. And now you feel like caca. You feel hungover. You hate anyone who breathes out loud or dares chew near you. Everything irritates you. And what is so crazy about the reason that we feel like this and all these other symptoms we've talked about is because, again, at the root of this, our body believes that it is actually starving, that it is going without. And it is like a withdrawal. If you've ever tried to take something out, like think of this even with kids. Like, do you remember when you tried to take them off the soother? It was like dealing with a crack addict. Like they unhinged when they couldn't have their soothe when they were little. And it took days and comforting and swaddling, all the things to get them out of that habit. Have you ever tried taking out coffee? Have you ever tried taking out sugar? It's not a joyous experience when you first start to do this. Your body is going to be like, what's happening? Go get that. Go. You need that thing. It's going to test you. But you get over 3, 4, 5, typically I say 5 days for people of those feelings. You might actually feel like when you're coming off of sugar and balancing blood sugar, sometimes you can feel a little flu-like in the beginning. Although I say majority of the women, I'd say all the women who go through the hormone project, when we work with them on this, because we do it in a super fun, delicious, balanced way, they just message back and are like, I can't believe how much better I feel. My energy is better. I'm already sleeping better. You know, my stomach feels better. I'm pooping, right? That's like the most exciting one is they're pooping. Sleep and poop. It's really all we need in life, I think, right? Regular bowel movements and a good night's sleep make us happy. Okay. So many of you can relate to this. And so, you know, when we're talking about some of the things that we can do, this is what I'm going to go in. This is where you want like the pen on the paper. Okay. Because I'm going to itemize some things for you. Start your day well. Okay. Remember that step 1 I said is really about beginning to communicate with yourself, recognizing, having the conversation. How do you feel in response to the things that you consume or don't consume? Okay. The second thing here is start your day well. So please start to have a blood sugar balanced breakfast. Now, I am not going to tell you at what time you need to eat that breakfast. I don't know when you wake up. I don't know what your morning routine is. I don't know what habits you have going on. I will tell you personally, I like to eat within my first couple of hours of waking. Okay. So what you eat is going to be more important, I think, right now to focus on, ladies, than how quickly you eat when you get up. So in the mornings, some of the most, prolifically blood sugar stabilizing meals would be things like having the eggs, good quality bacon, berries, eggs, avocado, sliced apple. You could do avocado toast with hemp, but eat the good bread. Eat bread that has like nuts and seeds in it. Eat bread that, maybe even it's a bread you've made on your own. It's not just like flour and starch that's in there that's going to help to support your blood sugar. Sprinkle some hemp, put some sprouts on top of that avocado toast. Leftovers. I love doing leftovers for breakfast. So it could be chicken and veggies. It could be I mean, I don't eat steak, but my husband and my kids do. So it could be like meat that they're having with veggies. We have to get ourselves out of this mentality. Like there's only breakfast food, and then there's only lunch food, and there's only dinner food. There's just food. And we're trying to look at like, what's the best combination of these foods to have? Now, if you love doing something like a smoothie, which I'm a huge fan of them, that's great. We just want to make sure it's super balanced, right? So that smoothie is going to have something that has got protein, fat, fiber. I love adding veggies into smoothies, frozen cauliflower, frozen zucchini. I typically tend to go on the side of berries, but if I've done a heavier strength training session, like this morning, I did a leg session, I filmed a bar class, I had a banana in my smoothie. Right. And that's because I know I need to refuel. I need to go in and replace the glycogen in the liver and the muscles. And I'm perpetually trying to build muscle. And if you want to build muscle, you can't build muscle without having some carbohydrate. So timing your carbohydrates, around your workouts could be an effective way for you to be able to do that for yourself. You could also do things like overnight oats, but you don't want to have oats just by themselves or go and have like, maple brown sugar oatmeal. You want to add in nuts and seeds if you can tolerate them, a nut or seed butter, some berries into that, right? Things like that to help to slow down how quickly that's going to impact your blood sugar. You could also do things like a coconut yogurt with some collagen mixed in there, some hemp, again, some berries. If you're okay with dairy, I'm not the hugest fan of dairy for most women. To be honest with you, some women can consume it and they feel totally fine with it. I would just say if you're going to have it, make sure it's organic, and something that you can tolerate, and don't go for something that has 20 plus grams of sugar because it's berry flavored or vanilla flavored. Okay. So those are some sample things to start your day with. Notice I didn't say have cereal, have 3 coffees, skip your breakfast, have a croissant, have a bagel, have pancakes. Now, granted, there are healthy versions of those pancakes you could make, and you could, top them with the accoutrements to balance it out. But those are some really good ways. And here's the thing, and there's so much data and research behind this. Those who start their day with an unstable breakfast or no breakfast, okay? So blood sugar is not balanced, or you put sugar into your body first thing in the morning by having the glass of orange juice, starting off with the cereal, having the toast with jam, right? The bagel with honey. You will not be able to catch your blood sugar the rest of the day. It will impact you for that next 24-hour pattern. It'll also impact your 24-hour diurnal pattern of how your body utilizes your cortisol. Okay, so this impacts your adrenals and your nervous system. So if you want to win the day, start with your first meal of the day. Don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel and try and get every single meal being perfect. Please don't do that. Can you start with your breakfast, the first meal of the day, to help to stabilize you? And that will help you over time make some healthier decisions that feel best for your body throughout the rest of the day. The next thing is about the order you eat the food that is on your plate. Okay, so this is something that I talk about a lot. This is something I've done for as long as I can remember. But when we sit down and say you've got fish, and you've got salad and rice, and you've got, avocado that's on the plate. Okay, it's late. I'm not creative in my examples of this. Instead of going to the starch first, right? Like eating the rice first, or having the piece of bread that you're having first, or going to the whatever it is first, start with your veggies first. Get the fibrous food in first. Getting more fiber into your body and in your gut is going to help your system absorb those starches, or the starchier or more refined carbohydrates once they come into the system. So start with your veggies. Like I grew up in our household, we had a salad with every meal. Even if it was takeout food that we were having, there was always a salad. My dad is Italian. He was raised by his Italian grandparents. The salad was what, cleansed the palate. So we always had salad. It's what we do in our house now, right? Like our kids, they're so sick of salads, but every night there is a salad. So we eat our veggies first. And then on your plate, then you transition. So you go veggies, then you go protein, fat, and then the starch. What we tend to do is we go for the starchy carb first because it's what everybody loves so much, but try to work it in reverse and just try it and see. Okay. Again, you're just sampling things out here. Notice if that makes a difference. Here's what I notice with people, and I'll use my kids as an example. If my son goes to the carbohydrate part of the meal first, I know he's not going to end up finishing the piece of meat, the piece of chicken, the piece of fish, whatever the main dish was, because he's going to hit that threshold where he's going to have like gone to town on the potatoes or whatever it is that he's having. And he's going to be like, oh, like I'm full. I want to focus on getting the veggies. I want to get the most nutrient dense foods into the body first, and then come back around and finish the meal up with that. Okay. Here's another tip for you. After your meal, especially like after dinner, go for even a 10-minute walk. That's going to help with your post-prandial glucose. That is going to help to sop up that glucose from that meal that's in the bloodstream into your muscles, and where we want to get into the cells, into the mitochondria to give you energy and support you, versus eating dinner and moving to the couch. Eating dinner and scrolling on your phone. Even if you can't get outside for whatever reason, clean up things around the house, move your body, set the timer for 10 minutes and do some standing squats, do some walking lunges in your hallway, do push-ups against the walls, stretch, do something to move your system to help to sop up that glucose. The muscles are like a sponge in your body, and get it into your system. This is also really cathartic and a beautiful way to help to regulate your nervous system, especially at the end of the day. And it can be as small as 10 minutes. Okay, my husband and I, we go for a walk every night after dinner, short little loop around the block. I do a longer walk for myself in the morning, not for my blood sugar, literally just for my sanity. It's my therapy. It is my walking meditation. It's how I stay sane. But every night we go for 10 minutes. We take the dog and we hit the road. So that's another step. That's step number 4. Step number 5 is start to get in, if you can digest them, beans, right? Instead of always looking for a grain or a flour-based like pasta on the plate or rice on the plate, or, oats or a slice of bread, beans, ladies, for you and your body, very cooling. They are wonderful to balance out our hormones. They are beautiful to help with proper estrogen metabolization and to move things through your system. They support healthy bowel function. Now, if you are like Jen, if I eat beans, I am so gassy, I do not digest them well. Couple of things first would be, have you spent some time investigating what's going on with your GI microbiome, with your gut? Do you possibly need some digestive enzymes? Are you rinsing your beans really, really, really well until there's no sudsiness, that raffinose, that coating? And oftentimes what they're putting in the can with it, if you're having canned beans, you have to rinse them so well until there's no bubbles or suds left on it. And then you would saute them or add them into your dish, okay? But remember, they are very, very cooling. We were just at our Chinese medicine doctor tonight because my daughter, who's almost 15, I've started her into this routine now, and she goes to see him once a month and gets acupuncture and does some different herbs. And not because there's anything wrong, just supporting her system, okay? She's a menstruating woman now, and I want to make sure we're supporting her. And so he said to her tonight, don't forget, make sure you're getting those beans in. They're beautiful for the kidneys. They balance our ovaries. They're so cooling for the body. And for women, they're beautiful food, and it doesn't have to be a lot, right? So that's another tip I wanted to give you. And they're great in terms of slowing down, again, that blood sugar response. Glycemically, beans for most people are going to be much easier than having things like rice or having pasta and going towards the grains that we're really used to, okay? Number 6, I think I'm on here now, is your exercise. So I started to talk about this. Ladies, I'm going to encourage you, if you don't already do this, pick up the weights, okay? Strength training is it. Muscles are going to help to pull in and utilize that glucose. Your fat cells, your adipose tissue does not. So when we're talking about wanting to feel a different way and wanting to shift your body composition, it's not going to happen with running. It's not going to happen with, a 15K walk. The walking is wonderful for your nervous system and to help your body. But in terms of actual composition of the amount of muscle on your body, which is metabolically active, this is when you want to start to think about, can you start to do strength training 3 to 4 times a week? Can you pick up some free weights? Can you do Pilates? Can you do, if you're going to do spin, could it be, I have a spin bike behind me in my room. When I do spin, I choose a strength-based class where I am climbing up a hill, not where I'm sprinting down a hill. How can you create more load-bearing movement? Can you set your timer for 15 minutes, pick a movement, and every 90 seconds shift that movement that you're doing? Inside of Synced, which is my online membership, This is all based out on your cycle. So whether your menstrual cycle and the 4 phases or the moon cycle, and the results women get in there is fantastic, because you're not designed to do the same intensity and the same type of movement every single day. You are not a man. Okay. You are, it on every physiological level is not appropriate for us to be grinding and hustling in any capacity, especially exercise, all the time. And if you want to learn more about that type of approach, about how to work with us to support your blood sugar, about the hormone project, any of that, book a discovery call with one of our team members. You can Vanessa can post the link in the sidebar now, but you can also reach out to us at hello@jenpike.com. You can get onto the phone. You can literally be like, okay, this is my scenario. This is what I'm feeling and what's going on. And we can help to point you in the direction of, if we have somebody on the team that can help you, like maybe Laura Bourne, our holistic nutritionist, can help you support that blood sugar element. Maybe our naturopath, Dr. Laura Anderson, a lot of Lauras, can help you in that way. Maybe it's working with myself or one of the other coaches inside the hormone project. But if you're struggling, don't just sit on the sidelines and wonder what if. It doesn't cost you anything to get on a discovery session. And it literally is just having the opportunity to talk to another woman, explain what's going on, and can we help you? And if we can't, we are a great team. We will refer you out to someone who absolutely can. We do not leave anyone hanging dry. Okay. The next one that I want to shift into talking about here is that if you do have suffering adrenals, if you have, your recovery is not very good, your resiliency is quite low, you are hanging on by a thread right now, please start with things like the walking, start with stretching, start with legs up the wall, go to bed earlier. Please get yourself more rest. Even if you're not sleeping, just lie down. Lack of sleep will impact your blood sugar more than a chocolate bar. I'm telling you that right now. And you can go on PubMed and read 50 different, studies and research on this. Lack of appropriate sleep and having an unbalanced circadian rhythm will be a master puppeteer in the wrong way when it comes to your blood sugar, your cortisol, right? So your stress hormones and your weight. Getting more sleep for those of you that have really low resiliency and massive adrenal issues going on, and you are so overwhelmed right now and you have anxiety, I want you to get more rest and I want you to get fresh air. That would be my number one recommendation for you. Okay. My final one on this is to stop abusing intermittent fasting. Please stop shrinking your window that you are nourishing and feeding your body. I don't think most women understand just how much we need in terms of nutrients. That is not only your carbs, fats, proteins, and your fiber. It is your vitamins. It is your minerals. It is your antioxidants. These are the actual soldiers for your body that are supporting everything from your hormones to your metabolic function, to your brain function, to your cardiovascular and circulatory function, your reproductive system. Every single system in your body is depending on what are we bringing in. And if you keep eating fewer and fewer calories, fewer and fewer variety of foods, shorter and shorter window, you are really minimizing your body's ability to be taken care of in that way. And, supplements are there to help to bridge that gap, to augment, but they're there to supplement. They're not there to replace. So there is not, like oftentimes you're told that like there's a pill for every ill. I don't subscribe to that. And there's not a supplement for every health issue that's going on. We have to be willing to work on our lifestyle and our daily routines and things that we are doing first. Okay. What kind of beans? It doesn't actually matter. So what beans do you enjoy? Right? Like I find for a lot of women, I'll tell you from experience, chickpeas tend to be one of the harder ones to digest. I find for a lot of women, they can do black beans, adzuki beans, great northern beans, cannellini beans. Some can do chickpeas, but I find for a lot of them that I work with, they do chickpeas and they're like, Jen, I'm 5 months pregnant. We're like, okay, not that bean then, right? And you try another one. Thanks. With COVID, needed a reminder, increase building muscle. We need to have muscle on our body regardless of what's happening in the world. And this is a massive disservice again to women, is like, can I just tell you, and the women who are in sync who are in here, I lift heavy frigging weights. Okay. This is as big as that bicep gets. Like I'm squeezing it with all my freaking might. I lift heavy weight so that I can be healthy and vital. I am 41 years old. I'm going to rock this life and rock this body for as long as I freaking can. And running ain't going to do it. And I used to do triathlons. I used to do marathons. I used to teach for the running room and do all of that. And can I tell you, my body felt older and more aged back then than it ever has. Than, fully embracing weights. And for the last 4 years, I train my body based on my cycle. I have done 3 fitness competitions. I am doing a whole spread for Strong Fitness magazine that I am doing the photo shoot for in June. We're going to be in their issue in September, October. The whole issue of that magazine coming on stands is all about hormones. I'm doing a 4-page spread all about synced and training based on your cycle. I can't stress this enough. Stop believing that you have to be pounding your body to get the results. It is so hard. It's like such a mind fuck up here. I'm sorry if you don't like swearing. I do swear sometimes. They're just words to me. But it is like it's unscrewing it up here so that we can embrace it in our body. And with ladies, when you start doing the strength training, that blood sugar stability, and you're actually going to be able to probably eat more than you eat right now and start to see the inches come down and feel your energy increase and feel so much better and have that confidence and that empowerment in your body. My thoughts on gluten. I will tell you honestly, and because I run functional tests, I'm testing poop and testing for gluten. I'm doing Dutch testing, blood testing, all of that. I have yet to work with somebody where gluten shows up as being okay. I don't see it in my practice. Now, again, I work with a population of women who are going through hormonal imbalance, adrenal, thyroid, gut issues, fertility issues, peri and menopausal issues, estrogen dominance, andro dominance. I don't see any women who can really tolerate gluten in a day-to-day capacity, maybe every once in a while. But for most of them, we have them remove it for about 10 to 12 weeks and then slowly start to reintroduce. And then their body lets them know whether or not this is appropriate. How do you train when you no longer have a cycle? So Sue, I have a whole free opt-in on my website, jenpike.com, and you do it based on the moon cycles. So we have 4 phases of our menstrual cycle and the moon has 4 phases, and I teach you how to pair that all up. And that's what my entire membership is, synced. I teach live classes weekly in there, like workout classes. We have, oh my God, like 150 different videos now. It's beautiful. You can go in and peruse it and take a peek. You can also, again, hop on a call. We have synced success coaches, and you can, email hello@jenpike.com or go back to that link that Vanessa posted in the sidebar, and you can hop on a call about that. Can you have insulin resistance or hypoglycemia even when you have a healthy diet? You 100% can. It's a great question, Taryn. You absolutely can. And this is the thing, is that, and this is when sometimes using something like the continuous glucose monitor can help you understand. When I did it the first time 2 years ago, I was blown away at the healthy foods that I thought would stabilize my blood sugar that were actually crashing me or spiking me. Like a salad just with chicken and avocado and some veggies did not balance my blood sugar. I had to have a complex carbohydrate like roasted veggies in that salad, or my blood sugar went too low. As soon as I started to add the complex carbs like sweet potato and, roasted like carrot and parsnips, squash, those types of things in, my blood sugar totally stabilized and balanced. It was so wild to me. And so, yes, you can absolutely be eating what you perceive to be a healthy diet and still not have managed blood sugar. And that, I think, is oftentimes what happens for women is they think, well, I just eat veggies and protein and a little bit of fat, and I don't have all the processed carbs, so my blood sugar is probably balanced. For a lot of women, if they don't get enough carbohydrates, they're not going to have stable blood sugar. I worked with a woman for a long time who was constantly wearing a glucose monitor, and her stress was so high and she was so afraid to eat carbs. And her blood sugar was always, up and down and up and down. And she was not feeling good and she kept gaining weight. And I finally got her to the point where I was like, I need you to start to have some carbohydrates. What do you miss eating the most? She was like, oats. And we started to add oats in. And 3 days later, she messaged and she was like, oh my gosh, my mood feels better. My energy is better. I love my oats. They taste so good. And guess what? My glucometer is actually reading a healthier level now. Okay. I've read if you have excess subcutaneous fat, cardio is your only solution. I do not believe that. I do not believe that. In order to lose fat, so fat loss versus weight loss, there has to be a level of either a caloric deficit that is coming from you shifting the type of food, the amount of food, and the partnership of the food that you're eating, or your exercise, or a combination of both. If you have a large amount of weight to lose, when you're looking at cardio, you want to be choosing something referred to as LISS or MISS. Low intensity steady state or moderate intensity steady state. And Jen, I don't know in terms of like what your background and your history is, but if there's excess weight along with inflammation, doing things like high intensity cardio, 45 minutes on the elliptical going as fast as you can, or doing the sprinting spin classes, you could actually be increasing your inflammatory response, therefore making the weight loss even more challenging. Because again, at the end of the day, is the body feeling safe? Is the body being supported in what it needs? And you can lose weight rapidly in a really unhealthy way if your goal is to lose weight, but it's probably going to bite you in the butt somewhere else in terms of how you feel gaining the weight back. So I know it's so frustrating because we want it right now, but the slow, steady pace, like a lot of people don't believe this, but I weighed 22 pounds more than I weigh right now, not when I was pregnant with my children, right? When I came out of school originally, cause I'm tall, I'm almost 5'10", I'm just long everywhere. I carry it well, but I held on to a lot of excess weight, and it took me years to like get it off in the right way. And now at 41 and having, had 2 children and running businesses, I can tell you, I've never felt as good as I feel now. And I am kinder to my body, and I approach my movement with grace, and I do it in half the amount of time that I used to. And it does take time to get to that place, right? We have to be patient with it. And I think when you can start to change the conversation away from how do I look and what do I weigh today? Because if every day you're weighing yourself and looking in the mirror, waiting to see the change, oh my gosh, that's like planting the seed today and expecting to eat from it tomorrow. You have to focus on how you feel. How do I feel today? Do you know how much better you'd feel if you didn't step on the scale every day? Right? Like how many of you have had an awesome moment? Like you feel so good about yourself, and then you get on the scale and you are robbed of it in an instant. Okay. The other thing I will say on this, and then we're going to wrap this up in a couple of minutes, is that if you have inflammatory issues going on, if you have a thyroid issue that you feel is not being, supported well, if you have blood sugar instability, if you have a lot of digestive issues, if you have different things going on in your system, you have estrogen dominant symptoms, you have a really painful irregular cycle, menopause is rocking you, this is really where you have to begin. And that's where something like working with us inside the Hormone Project, or working with one of our coaches in a one-on-one capacity, is what's going to help you to be able to break that and to move forward. Okay. I stabilized my weight, stopping cardio and switching to yoga. Yes, Deb. Yes. And I see it happen all the time. Our very own, one of our team members, Christine, who was our Synced Success coach, she's like a huge cheerleader in that group. She started off as a client with me years ago, came to a workshop like this, did one of my programs way back when, then went through the Hormone Project, started doing Synced, and joined our team about 6 months ago. Had a thyroid issue. She's tiny to look at, but she was struggling. She was struggling with like an extra 15 pounds on her body. And she was doing everything she was told to do. Do more, do boot camp, do, metabolic conditioning, all of this stuff. And it kept working in reverse. It was hard for her. And she shares this story often, but she decreased that intensity, started to follow based on her cycle completely, dropped those 15 pounds, body is feeling good. Everything came back to a regular, stable place. And she shares mentally, it was exhausting. It was exhausting to break up with doing less is going to make me feel better. It's hard. It's very hard. But don't you think right now, all of us could use a little do less mentality? How many of you are feeling tapped? Okay. Oh, I'm so glad, Peggy, you're meeting with Laura. That's amazing. You are welcome, Sue. Yes, please reach out to it. Like, honestly, ladies, this is what we do. And none of us on our team, we do not have a dogmatic approach. It is not a hard and fast, if you can't do this, you can't work with us. Like, what the hell? When I hear practitioners say that, I'm like, whoa, whoa, what are we actually trying to do here? We're trying to help you. The best way we can help you is get to know you. Where are you at right now? Okay, let's start from there and be able to inch our way forward. Okay. Jen, you're tapped for sure. Yeah. Listen, ladies, I do this for a living. I'm tapped. I'm tapped. I feel it. I have felt myself, want to eat certain things I normally wouldn't, or, I don't really drink. I've been like, oh man, maybe I'll just go and get a bottle of wine tonight. And I haven't, because I know how I'm going to feel afterwards. But I'm telling you, even those of us who we have all the certifications behind our name, we have all of the knowledge and information up here, we live in the glass freaking house where we have all of the healthy products and all the tools and resources, are also struggling. And so it's like I said an hour and a half ago, we are a tighter community of women, more similar to one another than you could ever possibly imagine. So please stop being so unkind to yourself. Please reach out for the help that you need. Please ask the questions and then take some level of action. Don't try and change your whole life. Some level of action. What are you going to take away from this tonight? Write it in the sidebar. Is it going to be shifting the breakfast? Is it going to be maybe eating a little bit more? Is it going to be doing some squats? Are you going to go to bed earlier? Are you going to decrease your exposure to light? This is so bad for my body right now. I should have my blue blockers on as I'm talking to you, but it creates this really annoying glare. And look, you can see the circle light in my eyeballs. Okay. So what are you going to do? And here's the thing. Your answer also might be, I'm just going to digest this. I need to just take this all in. There's no rush. I guess we don't hand out gold stickers for the person who gets it right away. Okay. Been in Synced for a year now. Awesome. And I've seen the program is incredible. An abundance of knowledge, classes, and support. I love it. Thank you for your connection. Honesty, you are so welcome. I'm a health coach and was taught the old fashioned way, eat less, do more. All the knowledge, but it's so different. And Liz, I feel you, because I've been, in this industry since I was 17, collecting a paycheck as an instructor. Had my own practice for over 20 years now. That is how we were taught. Eat less, do more. That was the caloric deficit that we were taught. And we've ruined bodies doing that. And we have created a really unhealthy relationship for women. And it breaks my heart. Do you know how many women I wish I could go back to when I was in my early 20s and my early part of my career, where I believed that that was the information to give them. And I think to myself, gosh, does she still have an imprint from me as her trainer back then, or as her nutritionist telling her to do that? I wish I could go back and undo that. And here's the thing is, when we know better, we do better, and then we need to educate better. So it's like all of us that are doing this, we are ambassadors for you and for your health. Okay. Shift breakfast and get more consistent sleep. Amazing. I'm going to eat more than just veggies for lunch. Yes, please. Oh my goodness, your body is going to love you for that. So is your brain. Can you have regular blood sugar and high insulin level? Don't know what you mean by that, because you would actually see that if you're fasting glucose or your blood sugar is elevated, that means that your insulin is having an unhealthy response. Is riding a stationary bike part of muscle building? It is not. It is not. I have a spike of energy as the evening approaches, and I feel agitated and plus restless that I can't sit down for a couple hours, and I have a poor sleep. Okay, so that's definitely something to do with your adrenals and stress hormone response. Instead, Diane, what I would recommend is, if you can, okay, here's the thing. Instead of doing the 10-minute walk, could you sit on that bike and just pedal for 10, 15 minutes? Absolutely. If that helps to just bring things down, I would do it at a lower intensity for yourself. Also try, if you've got that frenetic energy at night, you could do a soak with Epsom salts, which are rich in minerals, in the tub to help to ground you. You could do the legs up the wall, the stretching. You could do something magnesium in the evening, like a calm citrate in your water before going to bed. Even smelling certain things like lavender, cedarwood, sandalwood to help to ground you down. You can try that. You are welcome, Mary. What you're going to shift your breakfast, need to start your day right. Yes, we all do, right? What do you recommend to monitor blood sugar? Great question, Heather. So my favorite is the Freestyle Libre. This is actually the one, and you just buy this at the, okay, in Canada, you buy it at the pharmacy. It's going to cost you about $100. It stays in for 14 days, goes into your arm. It connects to an app. It's just so crazy to be able to see as things are adjusting. If you want to actually see how it goes in and what it looks like, go onto my Instagram stories at Jen Pike. You're going to see Laura Bourne very dramatically put hers in because she's terrified of needles, but it'll also give you a good laugh. If you're in the US, you cannot buy it at the pharmacy. You have to actually get it prescribed from your doctor, and most times they won't. So you're going to go to Amazon and order it online from there. They're going to cost you, like I said, about $100 for that. And it is the Freestyle Libre is a great one for that. Ashley, you're going to start strength training and start your morning right. Amazing. I do synced workouts 3 to 5 times weekly. I try to get out for walks daily, but when I can't, I use my rebounder. That's fantastic. Your lymphatic system's going to love you for that. It's fun. You get a good sweat working up. That's awesome. Oh, thanks so much, Allison. Okay, amazing. Christina's already using the Freestyle and it's fantastic. It is so, here's the thing, okay? I don't know about you, but in school, like I loved science projects. I love experiments. My whole family is a lab to me. We do all the tests and everything. The blood sugar one is unbelievable. If anything is going to get you to reestablish your relationship with the connection you have to food and how your body responds, it might be that. Now, that being said, you don't have to go and buy it. You do not. Okay, if you're like $100, Jen, I don't have that. Truth be told, I'd rather you put your $100 into healthy, beautiful food for your body and where it needs to go that you feel is a necessity right now. So instead of doing the glucose monitor for you, you're going to do the step 1, which is pay attention. Just pay attention to how you feel to the food. In order to do that, you have to slow down. You have to press pause and really connect. Okay. Danielle, I do not have a suggestion on a good rebounder because I sold mine many years ago because I stopped using it. Honestly, I would just go, when I did get mine, I bought it, I think from like Canadian Tire or Walmart, somewhere like that. It was not very expensive. Okay. Someone's going to add beans more often. Amazing. Okay, ladies. Awesome. All right. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope at some point we get to connect with you, one of our team on the phone, or we get to work with you inside of Synced or the Hormone Project. Listen to the podcast as well. Tons of free information there. And next month I'll be doing another masterclass. I just don't know what it's about yet because it literally comes from the questions that you ask. That's what I form these all around. Okay, and Vanessa's got that link there one more time that you can go on to book a discovery session with one of our team members. You're welcome, ladies. Have an amazing night. Have a really good sleep. Have an amazing start to a fresh new day tomorrow. Take care.